This video contains NIT plays. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm straight into it. This episode I'm trying something different with my microphone. Please tell me if it's working or not. I realised that there was a lot of static in the last two episodes, so I tried something different. We'll see how it gets on. Again, you're going to get 6 hands today, all in smaller games, but some fun ones. They are all playing like a NIT. I know the title says playing like a NIT, but bear with me for this one. No, it doesn't look neat. You'll understand. But these were all recorded recently, but the hands were played about this. These are over 3 sessions. This is about 6 to 7 months ago. So I don't have any live footage. Hopefully looking at getting some live footage in the next couple of weeks. So for you guys, it'd be like the next week or two, but we'll move on. Anyway, so starting off here with 8, 7 of spades. We're playing 1, 3, 6, and 12. So we click it under the gun. Too small. Even off 80 bigs here, this is too small. I want to be making it at least 30. You know, even that's small, but you know, this is too small under the gun. I mean, this hand is loose under the gun, but I like to give a bit of action. But yeah, so we click it, we get called in the button, small blind, and the 12 straddle, and the flop comes lovely. So it comes 3-3 deuce with 2 spades. So we check it, okay? Here we start off, we flop the flush draw, strong hand. You know, this is one of the best hands to flop for us, especially with it being queen high. We can rip this with our range. Nope, for some reason I decided to check it. This is not good, but yeah, not ideal. But button does the job for us. He bets 55. The small blind calls, and we call. Not sure why. I mean, calling here means that we can check raise when we make our hand, which we do. So small blind checks. You know, this turn basically gives us the nuts. We can bet or not. We decide to check. Don't ask me why. Don't know what was going through my head at the time. Must have just been a needy day. But button bets for us. Fantastic. £125. At least we can check raise now and pay for stacks. Or not. Looks like we're just going to call here. Fantastic. Not sure again what I was thinking. But I decide to call here. And the river comes a brick, which is great. So we've checked twice here. Now the play would be to check raise. Which we're good. We start off with a check. Fantastic. Leading here is, I mean, we're just scared. If we lead here, we're just scared we're not going to get value. But we've played the hand. Trapeze, so check raise is fine here. They bet 280, which is, you know, what was that? That's about half port, just over half port. It's fine. We can check raise to get, probably make this, we'll just go for it all here. Just jam here. Jam will probably scare off a couple of hands, but definitely want to raise, make it 600. No, we just call. This is so neat. We win, but just mugs here. Although, you know, opening this hand under the gun isn't nitty. The way we played it is, when we make strong hands like this, we need to go for it all, leaving money behind on the table when we get, you know, because we can get called by sets here, and all his wheel straights, so like his ace-4 suited, we could even get straight, stationed off by queen x. Sometimes we lose a bit of flushes, but I think this is just, you know, a nitty line. But that's how we played it. Well, this is the start. We've got 5 more hands. Although the last 2 aren't too nitty, you're in for a treat. And number 2. So we're playing 1, 3, 6 again. We're under the gun with queens. Up to 20. It's okay. We get called by the small blind, big blind, and under the straddle. So going 4 ways to a flop, and it comes 8 high rainbow. This is a great flop for us to bet. Checks to us. Heads up, we're going to look to bet about 2/3 to 75% pot, but multi-way we're playing against combined ranges. And they're going to have a lot more sets than me. I've only ever got 8s here, in these sort of games, I'd probably limp 5s and 3s for the 6 pre-flop, or just fold them. You know, sometimes they just don't even play those hands. So yeah, I've only ever got 8s and overpairs here, so I'm just never nutted. So I'm gonna bet smaller sizes, multi-way, even though we're in position. So it goes check, check, check. We bet 40 into 80, which is on the bigger size. I think I prefer around 30% on this dry flop. It doesn't matter because big blind raises us to 90. And with this strong of hand, in position, and with getting a good price, we call. Turn comes on offsuit jack, and now the big blind leads for 225, which is 85% pot. So we fold. Yep, you heard that right. We fold. This is nitty with our exact hand, but when an out of position fish shows strength like this on a disconnected board, on a disconnected rainbow board, it's just always a big hand. You know, the straights haven't been, there's no straights that have been made. There's no set flushes, so he's just betting a strong hand. He's not going to have random jack X, so it's not going to be like ace jack that just is bluffing flop and gets there and overvaluing his hand on the turn. So it's going to just be a hand like 8s, 5s, or 3s. They usually, when this happens, they're playing, the official play their hand face up and let us know that an overpair isn't good. And most of the time we're up against like a 2-pair combo or sets. Obviously in this exact scenario, there's not very many 2-pairs. There's no 2-pairs. He's not got 8-5, 8-3, 5-3. Very unlikely that he's just decided to raise jack 8 and hit a miracle turn. So it's just going to be a set most of the time. There's next to no bluffs. You know, it's could be, I could understand if this comes jack of clubs and he's got like 6, 7 of clubs, or 4, 6 of clubs, you know, if they turn like combo draws to use these sort of sizings. But they never use these sizes with bluffs. It's always a strong hand. So we just fold. Told you, we're in for a neat episode. Okay, hand number 3. Again, it's 136. Undergun fish calls, undergun 1 nit calls. We've got ace king of clubs in the cutoff, and we open to 25. This is too small, way too small. In these sort of games, you just want to, it doesn't matter what game you're in, you just want to make it bigger. I want to make it at least 30 here. You know, a good standard is 3x, the big blind, and then an extra big blind per customer, per player in the pot. So we want to be going at least 5x here. But we go 25. Anyway, folds around to the nit and the nit calls. King, 7 deuce, rainbow. This is a really good flop for us. Obviously, we've got top. He checks. We're going to bet half pot, which on this flop is a bigger size. You know, the board is quite disconnected. So we might want to size down, normally around 33%. Could even bet like 25% just to get calls from his like 7x. Not to scare off those sort of hands. The problem is there's not a lot of drawy hands on this board, so we want to bet small to get calls and hope that they turn equity or turn like a pair. But we bet a little bit bigger and the nit calls, which is good for us. Turn comes a 5 of diamonds, which brings in the backdoor flush draw, and he leads into us for 50. So alarm bells start ringing, and this, I think, is where it causes me to play like a nit. So I should always be raising here. He's basically saying he's got 5s, or a weak king X for value, or some sort of flush draw. We want to be charging all of them. You know, we want to be charging king X to stack it. We want to be charging flush draws to hit. And if he's got pocket 5s, we're probably just going to pay him off. So we should be betting close to pot here. Should be raising to about 175. But we just call. Great. Now the river comes a 5x, so that's good, because it means that he hasn't got pocket 5s, or he's less likely to have pocket 5s. And that's good for us, because it means that his king X is probably going to go broke to us. But bad, because his flush draws, well, with a nit, they're probably going to give up, which is what he does. He checks to us. So I know we've got the best hand now. And because I've only called the turn, we need to size up on the river to get the most from his King X hands. And in this spot, we want to overbet. So that's what we do. We bet 260, and he snap folds. So probably had a flush draw that missed. So I think we lost value on here. We definitely lost value on the turn. Just calling, because by not raising, we've lost value by not raising here, because it would have sized up nicely. Would have been able to jam pot for in about 75% pot. Which if you raise here to 175, if he's got King X, we just get to jam for 75% pot, and his King X should call us off all the time. And we should be charging flush draws. So we lost a bit of money. It goes check, we bet he folds obviously, so we win the pot, but not good enough. We lost out on a bit of money. Right, here we go. And number 4. And we're playing 1-3. It falls to the button. Who calls? And we're in this big blind with, sorry, we're in the small blind with ace king off. We're open to 10. Now this is too small, especially in this game. We should be going about 15 anyway, but in this game we're going to be sized up to about 20 because we've got Sal in the big blind. Now Sal is another Albanian WoW, and this guy is hyper aggressive and a big station. So it's the best of both worlds. So we bet 10, too small, get 2 corners. Flop comes ace high with 2 clubs. This is nice for us. There's a lot of draws, so we want to size up. Nope, we bet 1/3. This is too small. Again, don't know what I'm thinking in these hands. God knows what's going through my head, especially with these sticky Albanian WoW. Like when you're in this sort of situation versus these sort of players, just bet big, because you're gonna get called, and you're gonna, you know, we've got top, we've got a really strong hand. We're gonna make like a lot of money by just betting big here and getting called. So yeah, we bet with 3rd pot. This is too small. Both of them call. Turn comes a bricks. So on these sort of bricks, we should just be overbetting here all the time. We want to bet massive, bet 75 to 125. I even like 150 here, 150%, bet like 90 against these sticky wows, because it just, he's not going to look at it and go, oh, this is overbet. He's just going to call it. You know, he's going to look at his hand and go, I have a pair, or I have a flush draw, or I've got a worse, like ace, like, or I've got an ace, and he's calling, doesn't matter what the size is. But no, we bet half pot, the well calls, and the button folds. Again, bad sizing. River comes somewhat of a scared card. Now it completes a straight with 6-7, and yes, he would have called 6-7 on the turn. He, you know, he's calling for a gut shot happily. Deuce 4 did get there on the turn, but he probably would have raised the turn. So we're only really scared of like 8-9, ace 8, ace 5. Could even have 5-8 here. But, you know, what we want to be doing is betting small, because we haven't overbet the turn. We bet like a small amount on the turn. We want to bet small and induce him to bluff. We want to bet like 33% or like 25%, somewhere small to just induce. You can either go that way, or you can bet big to get it from ace X and hope that they just call off. But against this sort of player who's hyper aggressive, if you bet small, he's just going to go for it. We've got 100, which is too big. Half pot, it's too big, but it doesn't matter because we get lucky and we get jammed on. And if you think I've come all this way to fold top to an aggressive Albanian WoW, then you have another thing coming. We snap call, and he mugs. It worked out in the end, but I think I messed up the sizes pretty badly here. You know, flop was atrocious, turn was the worst, river's just all over the place. Somehow it worked out, and Sal did all the hard work for us. But told you, playing it like a nit. Queens, again, of course, I told you I was playing like a nit. Anyway, I'd like to introduce you to Tantrum. We are going to play a lot of pots with Tantrum, and all you need to know is that he likes a game of cards, and he will put you in spots. We've got the next two hands are with our best friend Tantrum, and then I've got a couple more for the next couple of episodes. There's some interesting ones. Anyway, we're playing 1, 2, 5, 10. Tantrum opens to 30. We're on the button with queens, and we're going to free bet to 100. It's a bit bigger than normal, but we're going to add something we call wow tax, and that means just sizing up us whales and calling stations. Folds to him, and he calls. Flop comes down lovely for us. It's 6-3 deuce rainbow, and he checks, which means great, we get to bet. We're going to bet 75% pot here all the time, which we do. He calls. Turn comes a 5 of diamonds, which brings in a backdoor flush draw. Now, Tantrum loves a suited ace wheel, so he's ace 2, ace 3, ace 4, and ace 5 suited. But he likes to play them aggressively pre-flop. So, besides him having pocket 4s, 5s, and 6s, we're crushing the rest of the hands that he's got here. So, we're quite happy with this turn card. But then he donk leads for 40% pot. That's £200. So, right here, we can bet it go two ways. We're quite deep. We've got 2k behind. We can play this as a raise, but I think raising here only gets him to stack off with hands that are beating us. So all of these sets, straights, and we just get his diamond draws and his bluffs to fold. So we're just going to call. Time to let him blast. The river comes a 6, and he bets half pot. So if we break this down, he's saying that he's got pocket 4s, pocket 5s, or pocket 6s, or ace 6 suited. But he also has worse value, like 7s, 8s, 9s, 10s, jacks, and these random bluffs like ace X, and like his ace X of diamonds. So his flush draws on the turn that missed. But I know Tantrum, and I know he likes to blast. So we call. And he mucks. No good bubba. That was a big pop. This hand wasn't played very nitty. I just ran out of nit hands and thought it was throwing 2 more fun ones for you. This one played itself, I think. We could choose on the turn to play for it all against flush draws or 6x, but then there's just a lot of bad rivers for us versus those hands, so we can just call here and evaluate rivers. Had this come a diamond or an ace or a king or a 7 or a 4, like we're in a bit of trouble here, and we can fold or evaluate, depends on his sizing. But comes this card, you know, if he's got a6, I'm probably just going to pay him off.
Check.
Okay, this is going to be the final hand, and it's round 2 versus Tantrum. So, folds first, and we're going to open 10s to 15. Standard button calls, Tantrum's in a straddle, and he makes it 75. We've got 2 options here. We can fast play this and 4-bet him, or we can give him a little bit of rope and see a flop. I decide on the latter, and we call in position, and the button calls as well. So, not ideal, but you know, we're getting good value. We're really deep with Tantrum, so we're getting good odds to set mine. Flop comes Jack 6-3 with 2 clubs, and it checks around. The turn now comes with 2 clubs, so we now have a backdoor flush draw, and Tantrum leads for 125. I think we've got an easy call here, having underripped our hand, and we've turned some equity with a backdoor flush draw. So we call, the button folds, and the river now comes a 7 of hearts, and he decides to overbet for 500 into 475. Now he's just used his sizing against me a couple of hands ago, and it was a bluff. But here he checked flop, which leads me to believe that he doesn't have a lot of Jack X, especially on a flop like Jack X where there's some draws. So this sort of wet board of having two clubs, like a flush draw. So if he's got a jack X, he's more likely to bet that flop multi-way, try and thin the field, take it down there before, you know, equity denial. To make sure, like, yeah, he wants the equity denial to make sure, like, turns doesn't come, like, a scare card for his jack X. But he didn't, he checked flop. So, it makes me think that he's going to have, like, an ace of clubs X hand or king of clubs X hand. You know, so like ace of clubs with a queen, ace king with the ace of clubs, or ace king with the king of clubs, or, you know, any of those sort of combos. King queen with the king of clubs, even king queen with the queen of clubs, or ace queen with the queen of clubs, where stuff where he blocks like top pairs and he blocks the nuts, or blocks like strong flushes. So I decide here to call, and we actually lose to king jack with the king of clubs, which is a very, very good flop check from him. If he bets flop, then we probably get to fold rivers. Because if he bets flop, we probably call. If he bets turn, we'll call. And then river, if he bets, we fold. So we probably, you know, he wins the maximum here because he's over bet river. He's got check, bet, or check, bet, over bet. So he's made the maximum of us here, which is why checking a hand as strong as this on the flop is quite good when you're known to be a blaster, because we just never assign him jack X. So yeah, he gets one back on us. The cards are down, but the story's just getting started. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, stay sharp, and never show them your full hand.